Hi, this is King of Review. Find the sum of the values of constant x if the sum of the elements of p squared is 0, and we're given what matrix P is here. So we first want to find out what p squared is. Well, p squared, this is the same thing as matrix P times itself. So let's set up the multiplication for this. So we have matrix P times itself. Like this. So let's look at what the dimensions are on these two matrices. They're the same matrix, so they're both 2 by 2. That's 2 rows by 2 columns. And because these two numbers are the same, they're both 2's, we are allowed to multiply these together. To multiply, we're going to multiply corresponding entries in the first row of the first matrix times the entries in the first column of the second matrix, and then add these two products together. So let's set up the math for this multiplication. So the first one is going to be x times x plus 1 times negative 2. So how did I get that? I multiplied x times x plus 1 times negative 2. So let's continue in this fashion. Next we have negative 2 times x plus 0 times negative 2. And moving over to the second column, we have x times 1 plus 1 times 0. And our last entry is negative 2 times 1 plus 0 times 0. So now we've set up the math. And now let's just simplify. This first entry, this is going to become x squared minus 2. The next entry here will be negative 2x. This entry is x, and our last entry can be simplified to negative 2. So this represents p squared. So now let's find the sum of all of these values, all of these entries. So we have x squared minus 2 plus a negative 2x plus x plus a negative 2. So this is the sum. Now let's just combine like terms to simplify. So we have x squared minus x minus 4. So this represents the sum. Now we want to know what constant x is when the sum of all of these elements is set equal to 0. So x squared minus x minus 4, and we're setting this equal to 0. So according to the relation between roots and coefficients of a polynomial equation, the sum of the values of x can be found as negative b over a when we have an equation that's in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So b and a, those are the coefficients here. So let's look at negative b. So negative, and what is our b value? Well, that's the coefficient on the x term. In this case, it's a negative 1. So we have minus negative 1 over a. A is the coefficient on the x squared term. So here it's a 1. So we have minus negative 1 over 1, and this gets simplified to 1. So 1 is the answer. Now, if you're used to solving this using the quadratic equation, we can also do it using that method too. So here's our equation, which is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. The quadratic equation is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So let's go ahead and insert our specific values for a, b, and c into the equation. We get x equals minus our b value is negative 1 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 1 squared minus 4 times a times c. Our a value is 1, and our c value is the constant here, which is negative 4. And this is all over 2 times a, and our a value is 1. So now let's simplify. We get x equals 1 plus or minus the square root. So 1 squared, that's equal to 1, and then we have minus 4 times 1 times negative 4. This equals negative 16. And this is all over 2 times 1, or 2. Let's simplify again. We get 1 plus or minus the square root. 1 minus a negative 16. This is the same thing as 1 plus 16, so we get 17 here, over 2. So we have two answers here. We have 1 plus the square root of 17 over 2, and we have 1 minus the square root of 17 over 2. Now if you add these two together, you can do that on your calculator. When you add these two together, you'll get 1. And that's the same answer we got here. Thanks for watching.